breeze crept through the valley outside of Telluride, Colorado, as my friends and I unloaded the truck parked on the dirt driveway. We had recently started renting an old mining house built in the early 1900s. Most of the home had been renovated over the years, but there were still glimpses of what the house used to be. The exterior of the home was painted a bright yellow and adorned a blood-red door. The yard was abundant, with lush green grass, minus the few brown patches that littered the ground. In the corner of the yard sat a dilapidated gazebo, filled to the brim with landscaping equipment. I stood facing the house, admiring the quaint ambiance it seemed to exude. I felt something hit my back and spun around. My brother, William, was standing behind me with a box under his right arm. "Let's pick up the pace, we don't have all day," he said, with a little annoyance masked in his voice. Yeah, I responded, and started walking to the back of the truck. My other two friends, Elijah and Leon, were in the process of stacking some boxes on a dolly. "Hey man, take this to my room," Elijah said as he handed me a large box. I resituated it in my arms and gripped it. As I did so, I could hear glass clanging inside and a strong, familiar odor starting to leak out. "Hey man, be careful," Elijah snapped. "If you ever want to smoke again, I'd highly advise you to take it one step at a time there, champ." "Maybe if you didn't throw everything into one single box without bubble wrap, then you wouldn't have an issue of something breaking, Elijah," Leon responded. Elijah's eyes widened, as if he had just figured out the secrets of the universe. I laughed, turned around, and proceeded into the house. The floorboards creaked as I stepped onto the warped living room floor. I surveyed my surroundings of the old rustic home as I headed to Elijah's bedroom. Only 2 interior rooms had been renovated in the entire house, one being the kitchen, which had marble countertops and new appliances, the other being my room. I was the one who found the home
So far, so good. It's not scary. As I was saying, it's not scary.
on the market, so respectively I had first choice of which room I wanted to claim as my own. The other rooms, on the other hand, were still the same as they had been since the early 1900s, with dreary wooden floorboards and old chipping paint. "Dude, what the hell?" William yelled from upstairs. I quickly climbed the narrow stairway to find my brother in his room. I walked in to find what looked like to be a large lump underneath the wooden floorboards. It almost looked like Andre the Giant was buried in the middle of the room. "I told you it was an old home, Will. Things shift over time," I said, trying to hold my snickering back. "Yeah, I get that, but you didn't say that I'd have to maneuver around a speed bump," he snapped back. I took a deep sigh and turned to him. "Okay, look man, we're only going to be here for a year. You've got plenty of room to put your bed so you're not sleeping on an incline." William turned back to the floor dejected. "That's easy for you to say. You're not staying on the cover of Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones." After we had moved everything into the house, we all plopped down on the couch, beers in hand, and began our well-deserved R&R. Elijah had already begun smoking, and the room started to fill with the pungent odor. "So are we going to be doing some ghost hunting tonight, boys?" Elijah said, as he passed the joint to Leon. "Oh, come on, you don't actually believe that crap, do you?" Leon responded as he was rolling his eyes. "The guy blew his brains out on the front porch in the 1930s. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a ghost floating through the halls. I mean, how do you think we got such a killer deal on rent?" William said as he lifted his arms and started mimicking the sounds of a specter. "Shut up. It's all nonsense. You've just been watching too much Ghost Hunters," I responded. Anyway, I'm gonna go to bed. We need to get up early to do some cleaning. Night, guys." I stood up and meandered to my room. In reality, I was a little perturbed by what happened at this house. I've always been quite agnostic to my beliefs of ghosts or spirits, but I've never witnessed anything myself. The rent was super cheap for an entire house, and I wanted to save some money for a trip outside of the country. I pushed the fact that someone had ended their life to the back of my mind. I wish things would have turned out much differently. I entered my room and slid under my sheets and basked in the warmth of my bed. It had been a long day and my body ached from moving. I grabbed my phone and looked for a rain and thunder YouTube video to help me sleep, and after about 15 minutes, I crept into comfortable darkness. My eyes shot open in the middle of the night. The moonlight shone through my window and enveloped my room in comforting light. I could hear creaking from the house as the wind howled outside. I tried to sit up, but found my efforts futile. Sleep paralysis was a regular occurrence in my life. It happened at least once a month due to stress and a little help from my antidepressants. At this point, I'd almost gotten used to it. I could hear what sounded like a light scratching noise coming from inside my room, and prepared myself for the usual dark figure to be standing in the corner. My eyes darted from left to right, trying to decipher where the noise was coming from. It was then I started to hear skittering, like someone or something was moving around.
Wait. Did someone say something? Did y'all hear that? That must be bugging, bro.
A cold feeling crept over my body as I started sweating profusely, my sheets becoming soaked. The skittering stopped, but was replaced by cracking, one that resembled that of broken bone. Out of my peripheral vision, I could see long, needle-like nails protruding from the closet. They each moved slowly, tapping the wall as if they were looking for something. I then saw a large, bulbous black mass starting to show itself from the closet door. It was coated in tiny hairs.
Why aren't you running, bro?
Almost habitually. A loud moan echoed throughout my room as the creature finally presented itself. A spider-like entity was situated on my wall.
No, why are you still in the bed, though?
The reason I say spider-like was because its head had been replaced with that of a human one. Its eyes were blacked out from the shadows of moonlight, and its lower jaw was removed, revealing a blotchy tongue that oozed saliva. It was about the size of a twin bed and stared at me for what seemed like hours. My heart was racing. I was begging my body to move, but to no avail. I was stuck there, in suspended torment. I tried screaming, but I was unable to make a sound. All I could do was watch the creature on my wall as it grew closer. Suddenly, it skittered to the ceiling right above me and started scratching with its two front legs, almost like it was burrowing. It then started to sink into the wall, as if the wall had turned into quicksand. First, the abdomen, then the legs. Eventually, all that was left was its mangled head staring straight at me. Those cold, dead eyes boring into my soul. I could hear it moaning, and I could feel the drips of saliva hit my torso. The creature then let out an inhuman roar and vanished into my ceiling. My body was finally released, and I jolted out of my bed screaming. As I did, the house erupted into more terrified outcries coming from upstairs. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who saw something, and, unfortunately, it wouldn't be the last time either.
Let's play the next one. Yeah, the next one. Play house.
We live on several acres in rural Indiana, USA. Our neighbors aren't too far apart, but we all live on a lot of property. On our properties, we have a lot of trees, and our neighbor doesn't maintain their property well, so a lot of it's overgrown. You know, a couple of fallen trees and a lot of downed branches. We knew the state of their property was probably because it was an older couple that owned the house and the property was vast. We have a creek separating our homes as well, but a small strip of their property is accessible from our backyard. Due to the overgrowth of trees, we weren't able to see much of their property when we first moved in the summer, and of course we didn't go onto their land because we didn't want to trespass. One night, my daughter and her friend were camping in the backyard and ran inside, swearing that they heard a kid laughing or crying in our backyard. I figured it was their imagination from too many scary stories while in the tent, but went out to investigate briefly just in case. I heard a faint noise coming from just beyond our property line. I moved the flashlight into the general direction and called out to whoever may be in the trees. The sound stopped. I decided it was probably just a couple of stray cats, but just in case, I had the girls set up the tent in the living room. The next day, after taking my daughter's friend home, curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to investigate the area by our property line. As I neared the line of trees, I saw a small path I had never noticed before. Since I knew my neighbors were too far and the trees were too thick, they couldn't see me on their property, so I stepped onto the small path. I walked slowly, looking down, watching for poison ivy and fallen branches. I wasn't too far in when I saw a dirty, broken kid's toy on the ground, wrapped in overgrown weeds. I looked up, and in the distance I saw a small, white shed-like structure. As I got closer, there were...
She's gonna go in the shed. I wouldn't go in the shed. I'm running. Why are you going in the shed, dog? Like, run away. She's gonna go inside. I said she's gonna go inside.
Some
I know this!
All broken and dirty. Then there was barbed wire, and I could see the front of the shed and realized it was a large playhouse with a wooden alphabet decorating the outside. I was starting to feel uneasy. This playhouse was at least half a mile or more from the only house on the property. I stopped in my tracks, letting my imagination go a little, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I must have jumped a foot off the ground, only to turn around and see that my daughter had followed me.
Oh!
Once my heart slowed down, I decided to get a closer look. There was more broken barbed wire fencing.
Why is she going in the front?
The window on the side was broken, and there was a hole in the roof. There was a broken train set, one the kid would be able to ride on. The front door had a white piece of wood set to lock someone in, not keep people out. At this point, my daughter was in full panic mode and begging for us to walk back to our house. But I had to at least look through the window, or my mind would wander with all the
Why are you looking through the window? Don't look through the window!
possibilities of what could be in there. As I was stepping to the side of the shed, my daughter was following close behind. In her fear, she was paying more attention to me than where she was stepping, and she cut her leg pretty deep on some barbed wire that was hidden in overgrowth. I quickly glanced inside the window, only to see a partial dirt floor and broken wood, and a large wooden bench with a dark stain on top. I picked up my daughter, who was determined her leg was going to fall off. We left the neighbor's property, and I took her to the doctor to get a tetanus shot and get her cleaned up. That night after dinner, I let the dog out, but couldn't get her to come back in. I let her stay outside for a while and checked again a little later. Our dog still wouldn't come in, and I noticed she was standing by the path we took earlier. I grabbed a flashlight and her leash and headed out to her. She was pacing, whining, and sniffing around everywhere. I figured it was from the blood earlier, but she never ventured onto the path. Then, I heard the giggling of a little girl. I called out to the child, but there was no answer in return, just some rustling in the leaves. I ran inside with the dog to check on my daughter to make sure that she was still in the house. She was laying in bed, fast asleep. The next morning, I went straight to the playhouse, but as I was approaching, something was wrong. The broken toys seemed to be in different places, and when I got to the playhouse, my heart felt like it was a ton of bricks. All over the side of the playhouse were children's drawings, in my daughter's blood.
Ooh, the last one. Let's go for the last one.
It was the summer ago. My family and I had gone to a cabin that most would use for a winter vacation, but my family wasn't like that. The cabin was located in the middle of the forest. There was no cell phone service, so, as you can imagine, I was pissed. My mom always complained to me about being isolated, confined to the comforts of my phone. I always found solace in my phone, since being around people made me feel irrational and was plain weird. My parents never understood that. Anyway, my little sister is 6 years old and was playing around in the forest. She had gone a bit too far out of my sight, and I started to get a little worried. I called out her name, but got no response. I then went in the direction that she did and found nothing but a bloody bow. My eyes widened as I frantically ran around looking for her. I found a blood trail that led to the deeper parts of the forest. I hesitated, but nothing was going to stop me from saving my sister. I followed the trail for as far as it went. After about an hour, the blood stopped at a hole. I debated whether I should go back and tell my parents, but I didn't think they'd believe me, even if I did say that my sister was missing. There's no denying my parents thought I was insane. Despite my fear, I jumped into the hole. I fell for...
Why is he jumping in the hole? What was so hard for him to go back home, and stay home? Don't jump into holes that you don't know. Simple as that, my nigga.
What felt like forever. Then, I finally hit water. My face morphed into disgust as I stumbled through what I thought was a sewer, since there was no light. I looked up out of the hole and saw a tiny white dot. I started to walk around. It was crunching under my feet. I paid no attention to it since I thought it was some dead leaves or sticks that had fallen into the sewer. That was until I fell. Some unknown liquid had splashed all over me. I remembered that my phone was in my back pocket, and I pulled it out and shined it on myself. Time seemed to slow down as I realized what I was walking in. It was a river of fresh blood. The blood had absolutely soaked me. I held in a scream as to not alert any nearby creatures. I then ran through the connection of tunnels and refused to stop until I started hearing footsteps behind me. I stopped, turned around, and shined my flashlight around. The light from my phone landed on a distant figure. It looked so small, so maybe it was a dog or an alligator that had sneaked in. I stupidly started to move towards it, and as I got closer...
Why are you walking towards the alligator? Why are you doing that? Why? Why didn't you run?
The figure started to get clearer. I started to see that it wasn't a dog or an alligator. As soon as I realized this, I stopped in my tracks and stared. It looked like me. Its body was contorted. Their back faced towards the ground, and its head was turned right side up, faced towards me. Its legs were normal, but its arms were legs as well. It had jagged teeth, and it was chewing on what was left of my sister's head. Then, I saw my parents' head beside it. I stepped back in shock and fear. The mutant of myself charged towards me. In a state of panic, I tried to run away, but I slipped. I hit my head on the rock and passed out.
The last one. The creature in the
My
forest.
parents were traveling for the weekend, as it was their anniversary, and to no surprise, they wanted to be alone. This meant that I had to take care and be in charge of my little brother, Oliver. Our home and neighborhood were surrounded by woods, and Ollie liked ambling around the trail that was behind our house, but he couldn't go back there without permission. mission. So naturally, since I was 18 and he was 10, I'd have to go with him for precautionary purposes. It was a little while before lunch, so I decided to join Ollie in his trek, so that way my appetite would be in a more salubrious state. It was spring, and the leaves were meager and just starting to grow back onto the trees, which also meant I had to watch out for any sort of dangerous animals that could possibly lurk out and cause harm to any of us. I could hear Ollie sniffing the air, and then him groaning at something. "Something smells like shit," he said nasally, as he pinched his nostrils shut. "Hey, watch your mouth," I retorted, surprised by the sudden curse. "Just because Mom and Dad aren't here doesn't mean you're allowed to say whatever." I did, however, sniff the air. He was right. There was a smell of rotten meat that permeated my nose. It was like roadkill. I saw what looked like legs by a tree about several yards from us. "Stay right there, okay?" I instructed Ollie. He nodded in agreement while keeping his hand on his nose.
That's the end of the video. If you liked the video and you want part 2, please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe. Don't just watch. Subscribe. Thank you for watching, bro. If you made it to the end of the video, I hope you made it to the end of the video. Please comment if you want part 2 of this video, because this thing is hella long, bro. One part 2 of this video and it's so interesting. Please comment down below. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys so much, and